Wealth creation is something that there's really not a lot of knowledge about in a way that's halal, where you're not falling into riba.
So Warren Buffett, his net worth went from 1 to 120 billion.
Okay.
If you were to do the yearly calculation, that's average return of 22% per year. But because of compound effect, it went from 1 to 120 billion in 80 years.
The biggest example here is you actually have an investor, right, who started off with a few $100,000.
Yes.
Now his net worth is 7 million.
7.4 million.
7.4 million. How many years?
In 12 years.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable when you understand the power of exponential growth.
The point that I'm getting at is that's more money than you'll ever be able to do anything with. Why are you making so much money?
Do you know how much it costs you to become a physician? Your father has to be the one sponsoring you. Now they are also doing the same thing their father did.
Yep.
Now imagine they have 3-4 children. That's how Muslim Ummah becomes powerful. It's the compound effect.
Uthman radiallahu anhu was asked, how did you create wealth? And he mentioned 5 things. One of them he said, Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Guys, welcome back to the Muslim Money Show. Right here with our brother Sam. Amin, how you doing, akhi?
Good, Sheikh. Alhamdulillah.
Barakallah feek. Just to give people some context about why we decided to do this show on the Righteous and Rich channel. Look, fundamentally, we live in a day and age where the Muslims are not in the best position, right? And there are many things that will aid the Muslims in becoming in a stronger position. From them, of course, is knowledge of our deen, returning back to Allah Azza wa Jal, which is foundational, it's fundamental. But then there's also the economic side of things. And Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, rahmahullah, he said, Al-mal huwa silah. He said, wealth is a weapon. And we can see how wealth gets weaponized against us, right? And people have wealth, they're able to use that wealth to do a lot of good things with it. They're able to also defend themselves and defend their family members with the wealth, right? You're able to take care of people, those that are in need, and so on and so forth. And for the last century plus, our people have not really been in a good financial economic situation. The colonialists, they came in and then they ransacked our lands and they pretty much left us with nothing, right?
Yeah.
So now, alhamdulillah, we see a rise in what we call righteous wealth, right? We're seeing righteousness and richness actually coming together and growing. So it's for that reason we wanted to create this education, because even when it comes to the whole investment side of things, look, making money, you can set up a business and you can make 10K a month, 100K a month, and it's not really that hard. People, there's 19-year-old kids doing it now, my neighbors, you know, but then actual wealth creation is something that there's really not a lot of knowledge about in a way that's halal, where you're not falling into riba. Me, myself, I want to learn. And that's why we have Brother Sam here with us, who is a real estate investor, mashallah, tabarakallah, 8-figure investor with over $100 million of Muslim money invested in real estate, riba-free, Allahumma barik. And he makes, 6 figures, Allahumma barik, monthly through passive income, mashallah, tabarakallah. And the rest of it is going into his investments that are multiplying. And there was no better person that I could think of to bring to the table to have this discussion, educate the audience with regards to how to create wealth while staying away from haram. So that is the whole point of this show. And week in, week out, we're going to be talking about issues. We're going to be answering your questions. I'm going to be asking questions that I want answered, so we can learn and have that Warren Buffett mindset, but without the riba.
Yes.
Right, without the riba. So, okay, look, today, the discussion I want to kind of have around is something that we touched upon briefly in the previous podcast, the first episode, and that's compounding.
Yep.
And one thing I've realized is the human brain is not wired to understand compounding, right? We understand linear growth in terms of numbers.
Yes.
1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3.
Yep.
But 1 times 1 times 1, exactly. Even though it's a simple number.
Yeah.
1 times
2. Let's do 2 plus.
Okay, yeah,
plus.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 times 2 times 2, right?
Yeah.
So that obviously now starts to grow.
Yeah.
The first time I came across this concept of exponential kind of numbers, right, or these large numbers, was I was talking to someone to an atheist, and we were having a conversation with some brothers, and someone mentioned, look, the chance of the universe being created by accident randomly is something like 78 to the power of like 79 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, forgive me if I don't know the exact number, but
when you hear it, you think it's just 78 to the power of 79.
Right. It's called the Penrose formula or something like that. But then the brother said, you know that this number has more zeros than there are atoms in the universe.
Oof.
Do you understand? So the point that I want to mention about that, of course, it shows that Allah Azza wa Jalla created the universe and this design, and it's not by It's not by
Chance.
by chance. But the concept of numbers here is like you see, oh, I'm gonna have 6% growth for 25 years. Doesn't sound like a lot.
No.
But that's Warren Buffett money.
Correct.
Right? So that's what we're here to talk about today.
Right.
Is that what is compounding? How does it work? And just really kind of get our psychology right about
Yes.
it. So break it down for us.
So you mentioned Warren Buffett, and I wanna share something with the audience. So Warren Buffett started investing when he was 10 years old.
Okay.
Okay. He's I think 89 or 90 right now.
Yeah.
And his net worth is 120 billion plus.
Yeah.
From zero.
Okay.
From $1, from $2 to 120 billion plus. So that's only average return of actually 22% per year.
Okay.
But because it compounded, it went from 1 to 120 billion.
So 22% per year.
22% per year.
Okay.
If you were to like do the yearly calculation, it's actually 22%. But because of compound effect, it went from 1 to 120 billion in 80 years.
Okay.
1 to 120 billion, right? And to also allude to your example, Shah, you mentioned multiplying, which is exponential, and adding, which is linear.
Yeah.
So for example, if we add 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, if we keep adding 8 9 times, 72.
Yeah.
But if we multiply 8 9 times, 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, multiply it, it's close to 17 million.
That's crazy.
17 million.
That's
just
crazy.
Multiplying it 9 times.
Yeah.
8 times 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 8. You're at 17 million. It's unbelievable when you understand the power of exponential growth versus linear growth, which is adding.
And I think this is the difference between making a lot of money and wealth creation, right? So when you make a lot of money, you have a nice wage. Let's just say you're making $100,000 every month or $10,000 every month. You're adding.
You're adding. Yep.
So this year I made $1 million.
Your salary is addition.
Yes, salary is addition.
Yeah.
But investing is multiplying. So if, for example, you're making $10,000 every month, at the end of the year, you've got $120,000, right? But if you're timesing 10 times 10 times 10,
it's
right. And of course, it doesn't work in that way, but we're just
it's the power of
the power of compounding.
And another simple way to understand also the power of compound effect. They say the domino effect. We've all heard it, right?
Yeah.
So one domino, if you just push it, it should be able to knock out another domino 1.5x its size.
Its size, correct.
Right?
Yes.
So for you to, with that math, and if there are no interruption, it can knock out an Eiffel Tower, technically, by the 23rd domino.
Even I heard there's a number where it can knock out a building the size of the Empire State Building.
Exactly. By a certain number. Right? But the key is without any force against it or interruption.
Okay.
Right? That's the key. And it's not physically possible. That's why it doesn't happen. You cannot just knock out a domino because there's air, there's friction, there's so many things. But now, if you apply the same principle to investing, where you don't pull out the money, right? You don't there is no interruption. You keep reinvesting, compounding without any force or friction against it, without any interruption. So it's the same concept. That's how wealth exponentially grows as well, even if it's growing at 1.5x like the domino effect, right? And another number, I think, for our audience to do quick math on something, right? Like one thing, especially our parents, like, how soon will my money double, right? That's a question. Like, depending, 6%, it will compound. Just tell me, when will I double the money? So there's a formula to easily know. If somebody says you're going to compound 6% every year, right? Halal, Sharia compliant, let's say fixed rent you're getting, right? From a property, 6% every year, and you keep reinvesting and doing it. Divide that number by 72, or divide 72 by the number. So if it's 6%, 72 divided by 6, you're going to double your money in 12 years. That's the rule of 72.
Break this down one more time, sorry, just because slow with numbers.
Yeah. So if somebody is making 6% a year, okay, how long will it take them for doubling the money if they're compounding 6%?
Okay, so you divide the
72. It's the rule of 72.
Yeah.
So 72 is constant. You divide by 6
because the rate of return.
Yes, rate of return.
Okay.
So that's 12 years.
So if it's 10%, then I divide.
Let's do an easier number, Sheikh. Let's say it's 12%.
Okay.
Then it's 6 years.
Okay.
You're doubling your money in 6 years.
So for example,
now if it's 24%,
you're
doubling it in 3 years.
So for example, those that invest with you,
so
the rate of return is 50%.
Yep.
Right?
In 2 years.
In 2 years.
So to make the numbers easy, let's say they're making 25% a year, but let's say they make 24%, just to make the math easier.
Yeah.
So they're making 24% a year. So 72 divided by 24.
Yeah.
Every 3 years, their money is doubling.
Every 3 years. Wow.
Every 3 year, money is doubling.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I haven't done the math. If somebody does, maybe someone in the comment can do the math for us. If somebody invests 100,000 at 24%, by I think fourth round, they'll be at 1.6 million.
Wow. Allah barik.
Which is like in 12 years, which we alluded to in the previous podcast, right?
Yep.
Now, subhanAllah, Shaykh, and what Allah has to allow us to do is remember two things. There cannot be a friction against it or any interruption. So the friction, this is where we have to make sure the projects are going well. We're doing our due diligence. We're doing our feasibility study. We're putting the right team in, and inshallah, we're doing that. And there is no pull-up. There's no interruption from the investor's end, right? Then it keeps happening. And this is not something like we're saying, oh, don't take your money. We have the option. Take your money. I would say 50% of our investors take their money, keep half, but the other good 50% keep reinvesting because they understand the power of compound effect. It doesn't have to be, only our project. Take out, just invest in something else.
Some project,
Don't like take it home. That's all I'm saying.
I think the biggest example here is you actually have an investor, right? Who started off with a few 100,000.
Yes.
Now his net worth is 7 million.
7.4 million.
7.4 million. How many years?
In long time, like in 12 years. What he did, he kept adding. So it's not the same amount. He kept adding plus the compound. So he kept putting more capital.
So every round he
put more actually. He had the same money.
He had the returns plus whatever savings he had made in that time.
Yes.
Right. So in essence, if I have 100K.
Yes.
I'm going to have 150K after 2 years, but I would have saved
another 100K.
Another 100K.
At least.
Right?
Right. So and now I'm putting 250K.
And that's
a very powerful concept. That's how he grew it. So Mala Sheikh, like this, I call him uncle. Mashallah is he's like 66 right now. He retired when he was 60 or 61 from, I'm not gonna mention the company's name. People would, try to find out who it is. He's from Michigan, alhamdulillah. So very like reputable engineer, retired and very disciplined. And when you see him, that's when there's a purpose behind it. So he's not doing it like, it's not living a lavish life. Like when you meet the uncle, like, subhanAllah, it's the very polished, but it's pretty much the same shirt I see him on, every other day. It's like the same shirt, same trousers, same shoes, same car. The actual Warren Buffett mindset, mashallah. But the khair he does with his money, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable khair he does. Like he's been the co-founding member of 3 masajid in Michigan. And his family is fully involved in like these community dinners and whatnot. Like right and left, they're just giving back to the masjid.
So this is the beauty of compounding, isn't it? Is that you make so much money, you're able to do things with it. Because look, if you do the math, right? If you're going to be on $1 million after like 12 years, like 4 rounds of 3 years or whatever have you, then imagine the way that's going to compound over the next 10 years. And then the 10 years on top.
That's where the calculator breaks.
That's where the calculator breaks. Warren Buffett actually made most of his money after the age of 60.
Yes.
And he's on 110 billion. And he was he started off with nothing. So over the age of 60, but the point that I'm getting at is that's more money than you'll ever be able to do anything with. So then why are you making so much money? It's not just to fund your lifestyle. Like if you have the most hedonistic lifestyle, right, where you follow your desires to absolute max, you cannot live off more than $100 million. As in, there's nothing left after that stage to do. Right? There's no more desires left.
No.
So $100 million, even that's a lot.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's a lot. But there's nothing you can purchase after that now. So then what do these billionaires do? I mean, most of them, they have a God complex, maybe, or they're trying to satisfy some deep insecurity, or they have some belief. Look at these Zionists; they genuinely believe that they are
superior.
They are superior, and then they're protecting their land.
Even the Christians feel it,
right?
Like even the U.S. Christians, they feel that superiority complex coming from them.
And my point is, but they have a cause, which is we're here to protect our land, and so on and so forth. So their wealth serves a purpose. But now, as a Muslim, when your wealth compounds in that way, you can help people, like you just mentioned with this uncle. The example that comes to mind also is Sulaiman Al-Rajihi, right? Who's alive right now. He was valued at 8-9 billion. And by the way, that's not an accurate figure. You know why? Because his charity is crazy.
Of course.
His charity has been crazy, Allah barik.
Yeah.
His charity has been ridiculously crazy, and only Allah knows. And by the way, I have good reason to believe that the man probably gave away more than what his net worth was. And proof of that is that he recently just gave away 95% of his wealth to charity. He said, when I die, I don't want my children to worship wealth. I want them to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. So he gave it away. But this man invested in real estate in Mecca and Medina and Riyadh. He invested in farms. He invested in so many different things. But that wealth, what was he doing with it? You know, it's flight economy. SubhanAllah, is about having all that money. Not that I'm saying that you should fly economy if you've got money. If you want to go business class, no problem. But the point that I mentioned is that when your money compounds, then your charity becomes powerful. Then you can give charity that's greater than the amount of money that you need to survive.
Correct.
Because bro, like the wealthiest man in the world is not spending more than, $1 million, 2 or 2 million a month.
Yeah, how can you?
You can't.
Yeah.
So then, but he's making 10, 20, 30 million a month.
Yeah.
You see, now he's using that for khair.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of compounding and why I think Muslims should be involved in this.
Right.
So I have a question for you though. This concept of compounding effectively, right? Do you think most millionaires understand this?
I don't think so, Sheikh. I don't think so because the lack of the compounding, it comes hand in hand with the concept of delayed gratification, right? And one example I want to mention, Sheikh, of all the examples you mentioned, because yes, charity should be a big motivator.
Yeah.
But sometimes people need a little bit more examples where they benefit.
Yeah.
So I'll give one example for this brother exactly that we're talking, the uncle.
Yeah.
He has, mashallah, multiple sons. I won't mention the exact number. All of the sons became physicians.
Allah barik.
0 student loans.
Oh, wow.
Do you know how much it costs to become physicians?
Yeah.
And all these guys are on student loans,
like
debt.
$250,000, right?
Yeah. More, Sheikh, sometimes.
Yeah.
More, depending if you're a specialist, this and that. And these are, one guy is an anesthesiologist. I'm always bad with the medical terms, like an anesthesia specialist, So the point being, Sheikh, how could do we need more physicians? No, of course we need more physicians. We need specialists. We need scientists. How are we going to develop
100%.
these AIs? How are we going to develop all these things that
100%,
we need?
100%.
We need scientists. We need physicians.
100%.
We need engineers, AI doctors, right? So how do you produce those if you cannot take student loans?
100%. 100%.
So your father has to be the one sponsoring you.
Sponsoring you.
How can your father sponsor, let's say you have 4 sons, 4 times 300,000, 1.2 million USD.
Yeah.
Just take it, investing in you. How can he do it?
No, it's true.
So you understand, Sheikh, the power. Now, when he has X number of sons, all physicians, all doing good, and they are now giving back to the community. It's not only compound effect on the wealth, Sheikh. Think of the compound effect in that community, where one father was able to produce X number of sons, were all physicians on the deen, and now they are also doing the same thing their father did. Now imagine they have 3-4 children.
100%. It's crazy.
That's how Muslim Ummah becomes powerful.
Absolutely.
It's the compound effect, that concept, every single thing that we're doing.
But I think the point you mentioned about the delayed gratification is very important, right?
Yes.
And I want to mention this in context of people who actually have money. Because when you look at 6% returns, 10%, and of course, currently your investments, the reason why I think everyone wants to jump at it because 50% is the type of number that no one really is, right? 50% returns, Allah barik. But generally speaking, when you're going to make that type of money, in your mind, it's very easy to belittle the profit. 6%, no, it's not really a lot. And I feel like this mindset could actually be stopping a lot of Muslim wealth being crazily multiplied. I'll tell you why. So Uthman radiallahu anhu was asked, how did you create wealth? And he mentioned 5 things. One of them, he said, وَلَا أَزْدَرِي رِبْحًا. He said, I never belittled profit. He didn't say I didn't belittle profit at the beginning. He said I never belittled. He's being asked this at the end of him being one of the richest men on earth that day.
Yes.
Right? One of the richest men on earth that day. He's saying from the beginning till now, I never belittled, which means that a year from now, despite being the wealthiest man or one of the wealthiest men, I would have still taken that little profit. And it implies an understanding of compounding.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's no way that little profit benefits you unless you think, okay, I'm going to do something with it. Like we said in the previous episode, Warren Buffett didn't take a haircut for 10 years for a $2 haircut because he knew, not for 10 years, but for a period of time, because you knew that this is worth $10,000.
Correct.
This is going to compound to $10,000 in a matter of years. So point being is that importance, that understanding is very important. Now, bringing this to the point that I want to make here, I did some research. Here in Dubai, there are 81,000 millionaires. Yeah. And I'm talking about guys who have $1 million minimum liquid inside of their accounts, right? Or in their assets. 81,000.
Their net worth, basically.
Exactly. In the UAE, it's over 500,000.
Yes.
Right? So there's 500,000 plus. Now, of course, there's going to be from those, some of them are not Muslim and whatnot and so on and so forth. But that's a lot of money. And if Muslims don't understand this concept of compounding properly, and they're put off by these small numbers, 6%, 10%, because they're doing what Uthman said don't do, right? And they are belittling this little profit that actually 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now can compound in a crazy way. Because think about it, 500,000 millionaires in just the UAE. There's 21 million millionaires in the USA. Right?
Yes.
But USA is massive.
Massive, yes.
It's a massive place. In this small plot of land, we've got almost 5% of the millionaires that exist in the UAE are present in this area. Yes. That's not taking into account Saudi. That's not taking into account Qatar,
the whole GCC,
and Kuwait, and the whole area. It's crazy. If we just get onto this concept of compounding, and the beautiful thing about here is you don't need riba. Because usually people want riba because they want more money.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But compounding, okay, cool. It might come a bit later down the line, maybe 10 years from now is when you start to see that major money. But it's clean. There's barakah. And then, by the way, it compound the next 10 years.
Yes.
It's going to be even crazier.
Absolutely.
Right? More than any bank could have given you.
Absolutely. And to this point, Sheikh, for example, someone might say, well, I don't have 100,000 to invest in this project. No problem. We're not saying only our asset, right? Our project or our product. For example, Sheikh, in Dubai, for rentals, the rental yield, you mentioned a very powerful point. When people see 6%, it's literally translates to, if I put $100 in, I'll get only $6 back after the whole year. Why am I going to put this $100 here? This is literally what it translates to, Sheikh. I'll keep your $100. You'll not see it. You'll not touch it. At the end of the year, I'll give you $6. Like, are you dumb? Why am I going to do this? But that's the problem, Sheikh. That's the mindset problem, right? Instead, what they do is instant gratification. I want to put that $100 into something that where I can instantly gratify myself. So I'll put, out of that 100, I'll put $30 in a Tesla, $20 in a watch, another $20 in my whatever, and the whole thing is gone because I'm getting gratified, right? Versus look at this, Sheikh. And in Dubai, by the way, it's not 6%. You make 8% on rental properties. The yield is much higher. It's safer than the US. I've done a whole video series explaining how in the US, on paper, you could make 10, 12%. By end of the year, when you do your tax returns, I've done it for my multiple of properties, you don't even make 6%. But in Dubai, you actually net 8. So if you net 8, Sheikh, again, rule of 72. 72 divided by 8 in 9 years. You're doubling your money. In 9 years, Sheikh, when you have kids, especially, you blink, you open, it's 9 years gone. Like my older daughter is going to be 7. I feel like she was just born yesterday. So imagine I put $100,000. Like in 2 years, it'll be doubled, 200,000 now. If I just put it on an 8% yielding asset. Think about it, Sheikh. And especially as we get busier, technology, AI, all these things come, kids, school, all these responsibilities, 9 years is nothing. So in 8 years, you can double your money in Dubai. In 9 years, I mean, getting 8% return just on rental, right? And there are so many asset classes. All we're asking is explore, invest. Don't just hoard and put it in your savings. And another saying, it's not an Islamic saying, but I think there's a point to it, Sheikh. Like bored money will never stay in your account. When money gets bored, it wants to do something. Meaning when you just keep the money in the savings account, money is bored.
Yeah, it's going to do something.
It's going to do something. It has to do something always. Oh my God. And you will make sense of it. My God. How much? And we've all gone through it. We spent 20 grand on this and how much justification we give to ourselves.
It's Parkinson's law, isn't it?
Exactly.
Right? Which is that you will spend whatever resources are in front of you.
Exactly. If I give you 1 hour time to do this, you'll take 1 hour.
1 hour.
If I give you 15 minutes to do the same thing, you'll get it done in 15 minutes. 100%. That's the Parkinson's law. So the same thing with the money.
But if I give you 3,000 and said you have to survive on this only, and then the rest has to be put away in an investment, you'll do it. You'll make sense of it.
Yes, absolutely, Sheikh.
I think an important point also to consider here is the importance of, because when you say to someone, people want to become millionaires. They want to become millionaires quickly, right? It's funny because most people have been saying they want to become a millionaire for 10 years, and 10 years later, they're still nowhere close.
Yes.
But if you were to invest, for example, 50% with yourself, you can make within 12 years, $1 million.
Yes. 100,000 to, yes.
100 if they start with 100,000, right? Yep. The point here is that every opportunity, every investment round, you should be looking to increase whatever it is that you're putting in.
Correct.
Because what that does is that makes the compounding effect greater. Whereas before the compounding was only on 100K, now if you get 50% back on that and you've got another 100K to the table, there's 250K now.
Right.
And you keep doing that. I think that is a concept that can satisfy that instant gratification itch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is that, bro, look, put your money away and work hard at increasing how much you actually make.
Yes, gamify it.
Yeah, do those at the exact same time.
Yes.
And every time just keep throwing more money. So if you're making 100K a month, put as much of that as you can into investments that will compound.
Yes. Yep.
Then try and bring that up to 200K, bring it up to 300K.
Yeah.
And before you know it, man, you'll be a very wealthy man.
It's like working out, Sheikh.
Yeah.
Right? Before you see the results, the first 12 weeks, so hard because you're not seeing anything. You're not seeing any results, right? So same thing when you put that first investment into that first vehicle, first asset, you've not made anything, but it really becomes fun and you start gamifying it when you get your first return back. But it's like literally like working out. When you see your first muscles coming out, you know, showing difference in the mirror, it's very hard.
It motivates you.
Yes.
When you see it.
Absolutely, Sheikh.
100%. Dave, Sheikh, Barakallah feek, man. Anything else to add?
No, Sheikh, I think we covered good stuff. Mentioned the story of Osman as well, Sheikh, because I think that also has to do with compound effect.
Yeah, no, of course. Compounding and compounding with barakah.
Exactly. You know? That story is like one of the most inspiring things for me.
So Uthman radiallahu anh, he purchased a well in Medina. So he purchased a water supply. You know, buying a well maybe today is cheap, but that well was owned by the Yahud at the time.
Yeah. And
they were preventing the Muslims from actually drinking from it.
Yeah, Sheikh, can you verify it for me? Like, did he negotiate it in a way? How about, because they were overcharging whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I buy half, so give me 1 day and you do 1 day. Did he do anything like that?
He purchased half of it first and then purchased the rest later.
It's just the negotiating strategy. I know this is off topic, Sheikh. What I see here, because then he was giving the water for free on his days.
Explain that to me, sir.
Okay, so he said, okay, I'll purchase half of well. And we have to verify this information, right? I purchased half of the well. Okay, it was like, okay. So let's say half is, let's say 3 days. Because half is not like this half is mine, this half is yours. Half is like days, you know?
Yeah.
So let's say Usman only got 3 days of supply.
Yeah.
Like the rest 4 days, Yahud will do whatever they want to do with it. So what he did on those 3 days, Sheikh, and please verify it, but I'm pretty sure that's what he did. On those 3 days, he said, all Muslims come, water is free.
Yeah.
So who would buy from the Yahud on the other 4 days? No one. You see, so he knocked out the competition.
Oh, wow.
Do you understand, Sheikh, the strategy? So he bought half. So he bought the whole well for half the price, actually. Because then the guy was out of business. Because those 3 days, he doesn't need the money. He needs the water for the Muslims. So those 4 days, and of course, only Muslims are not coming. It's free for everyone, the whole city. So those 4 days, he's watching the well. Nobody's coming to drink it.
Wow.
So he knocked the competition out of the park.
Wow, that's very deep.
That's what righteous wealth does, Sheikh.
Wow.
That's what righteous wealth does.
No, you see that these Sahaba, wallah, when you look, are very strategic. Like these little statements that might sound very simple.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of times, like, you know, when you, for example, open up Ray Dalio's principles.
Yeah.
It's not complicated.
Nah, Sheikh. And these are all so new. Yeah. We had it from 1400 years ago. We just have to study. We have to study and find it.
Study and implement.
Implement.
So in essence, he purchased the well, and now 1400 plus years later, that well still exists, and it provides water for the trees that produce date palms. And those dates, when they ripen, are sold, and the money that's gathered from selling those dates is placed into a trust account called the Uthman Ibn Affan Waqf, the Uthman Ibn Affan Trust, and that wealth is used to fund charitable projects today. And that shows you the power, right?
1400 years.
1400 years till today, his wealth is working for him. Right, it's working for him. It's making money till today.
Yes. And not only for him, Sheikh, like for all of us, the Ummah.
Yeah. Now, when I read that, was crazy. There's other stories as well. There was a Zayn. This is not necessarily about wealth, but we'll mention it since we're talking about charity and things staying for a long time. Zulaykha was the wife of Harun al-Rashid.
Yes.
And when she came to Hajj, she saw that the people were really struggling with water.
Yeah.
They were carrying the water on their backs. And water's heavy. Like 1 liter is 1 kg.
Yes.
It's very heavy.
Yeah.
So she said, we want to create a water system that's going to provide water to the Hujjaj for Hajj. And it was an engineering feat of genius. She got the best engineers together, and they said, listen, this is going to cost you a lot of money. A lot of money. Are you sure you want to do this? She said, even if every strike of the axe costs a gold coin.
Oof.
Think about how many strikes of the axe there'll be.
Yeah.
How many there will be.
Still do it.
She said, do it. And subhanAllah, Azim, she built this water supply. Since she made it, which was, I think, the year 140, 50, something like that, up until the year 1300 something, it was in full action. It just recently, like in the last 100 years, it stopped becoming usable.
Yeah.
But you can still see it, like historically, it's still there.
Remains and everything.
And that's the power of subhanAllah. I'm saying she could only use that because she had money.
Money, exactly. We always feel like doing it when we don't have the money.
Yeah.
Right? Like you see somebody suffering, only if I had money, I would have done this, I would have done that. 100%. But only few who have the money
would actually do it
because they don't have the money in the heart.
Absolutely.
They have it in the hand and they'll do it.
That's it. Tayyib Shaykh, barakallah feek, man. Look, we talked about and we alluded to your investment opportunity here. So we'll link the people below if they are interested. Real estate investment here in Dubai, in the development project that you have 50% returns in the last 2 years. If anyone is interested in doing that with Brother Sam, you can get more information at the link below. At the very least, inshallah ta'ala, make sure you subscribe to this channel and check us in, week out. Yeah. And hopefully you guys benefit, man. طيب, with that said, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.